Klaxon alarms blared loudly. Flashing orange and blue emergency lights flared throughout the halls, still functioning through emergency internal power cells. Defending beings of all sorts tried to fight back against the heavily armed military intruders in advanced power armor, failing spectacularly, dying to enemy plasma fire and ceramic ballistic pellet spray. Damage reports came in, from what bridge crew was still conscious. "Starboard partition failure!" exclaimed a Nimian female as she looked at her terminal, her two secondary arms holding her sides, as her left primary upper arm braced herself against her console. Her right primary arm pulled a bit of metallic shrapnel out of her right leg with a shout of pain. "Enemy boarders detected! Multiple decks!" came the panicked voice of a rather tall Mipops male. 3 of his eyes were swollen shut, and a large gash was over the left side of his forehead, blood oozing into another 2 of his eyes. "Damage control teams Alpha, Gamma, and Zeta neutralized," reported a Teapot's male. He seemed oddly uninjured, and the brown officer's uniform was stretched out over his muscular form, never having ever fit right. "Ammo leaks in every deck," a Yomdera female shouted, both vocal structures quivering with terror. One of the dark lenses she had over her eyes had a thick crack running through it, and her large ears were pulled back tightly over her head in an effort to minimize the loud and hectic sounds of the bridge. "Main power offline, burning for auxiliary fast," came another call from the T-posts, as he fiddled away at his mostly functioning console. "Full engine burn, redline everything. We'll crash into their vessel and take them out with us." The captain, a Tezot female, spoke with finality. "Collision course detected," came the oddly calm, smooth, masculine voice of the computer's AI system. "Impact in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The ship hit the enemy craft at full, real space burn, aided by gravimetric pulses, bringing the ship to a speed just shy of relativistic time dilation effects. The heavily armored, reinforced pointed nose, taking the brunt of the damage, as it had been designed to do just that as a last-ditch offensive tactic. The enemy vessel did not fare well, having another ship jutting out from its side, and the tip of its nose sticking out the other side. After the point of impact, the bridge went dark, and emergency chemical lighting appeared. "Everything's dead, ma'am. We're a dead stick, but so are they," the Nimian woman said. "I'll see what I can do." "Thanks, Gaz," the Tezos said. "Maybe those boarders died in the crash. They've killed enough of us already." "Secondary reactor is still functioning. We've got Sifs and Atmo containment back. Not much else. Working on getting Jester online." "Keep at it," the Tezos said. "We need Jester for main reactor control." "Aye, Captain." "Boarders detected. They're converging on the quantum reactor control room," the Mipos man spoke worriedly. "There's no defenses there." "To be continued," an announcer's voice declared, as the screen went dark, credits rolling across. "Watch the exciting second part of the season finale of Jester's Falls next week." As the credits rolled, the ending theme song played and animation started. The sound of a plasma rifle cycling up was heard over the music, along with the captain's voice saying, "I'm going to take back my ship." While the credits played out, a commercial aired, the announcer stating, "The first part of this extended season finale 2-parter special was brought to you with limited commercial interruptions by Kitfort, bringing Terran luxury driving to the beings of Wokpu. Up next, after promotional announcements, is a special interview commentary by the entire cast and producers." Speaking to the room, hoping anyone would listen to him, Klein spoke loudly and with finality. "They did Radjarik dirty there. Very dirty." The Nimian was wearing green shorts and a hot pink shirt that had the Jester's Falls television logo blasted on the front of it. "He was captured way back in the middle of the season and handed over to Dr. Tilov," a young, sprawling woman exclaimed in opposition. "What did you think was going to happen to him?" As she was with friends, she was only wearing an orange breechcloth with fanciful blue nonsensical designs throughout. However, they were not fractals, as was the current fashion trend on Wokplu. On her left side, hiding the buckle that held up the covering on her slender and thin waist, was quite the intricate purple bow. She remained topless, however, completely unbothered by anyone on one end of the shared couch. "I agree with Klein, Opuntia," came the gruff voice of a Tipot's male, by a table laden with half-eaten snack trays of various species finger foods. Licking the tips of his left claws as he had finished eating some kind of fermented finger food directly out of a glass jar, he continued, "Having that much tech shoved into your brain and drugged up like that? Then cyberized up to Yaz without simpskin and made to fight against friends and your life mate? Mercy kill me, please." He was wearing the same kind of pink shirt as Klein, as well as black shorts, but the logo on the shirt was miniaturized and blasted all over it in varying angles. "That scene was so sad and so hard to watch, Skizzer," Gerd said from her spot on the other arm of the couch, speaking to the Tipos. "It was also beautiful in a way," she continued, brushing some of her cranial flora out of her eyes. "The look of peace they shared as Var shut down his systems, that was bittersweet. He was finally himself in his last moments. I don't know how he managed to act that out, especially with the costume he was in, but damn." Like the other sprawling woman, Opuntia, Gerd was only wearing a simple purple breechcloth. With the way she was sitting on the arm of the couch, half of her rear was quite visible. "He also managed to give his crew that data cube," a Tezot male said from under Gerd at the base of the couch. His springy, delicate legs spread out comfortably in front of him. "Yeah, that scene was something special. There was no music, no dramatic score, just the fight, dramatic dialogue, and the aftermath of it. You could hear the emotions there when they spoke to each other. There were no actors in that whole scene, just friends forced to fight each other." He was wearing blue shorts, had no footwear on, and the same pink shirt that had the Jester's Falls logo blasted all over it as Skirza had. "Yeah, it hasn't been analysed yet. Major Travu caught up to them," a Yongdera female said. She had on darkened lenses as the light in the apartment was far too bright for her, and was wearing a green pleated skirt with a pink shirt that had a giant Jester's Falls logo on it that took up the whole front of it. She had the top 3 buttons undone since it was quite warm for her, as she had been hitting the various intoxicants a bit too hard, but was oddly quite coherent still. She was sitting next to Klein and had a drink in her hand. "As much of a gonad as he is, he's quite skilled, and the Falchion is a top-of-the-line dedicated warship," Gerd said. "It makes me hate him even more, especially since he's written as an actually smart and intelligent villain." "Definitely," the Yongdera woman said. "Anyway, since the show is over, you all want to play some games? I brought my Obelisk 2 and all the party games I have. I even brought some new digital ones." "That sounds great," Skirza said. "You go ahead and set it up, Lorqueth. I'll get this snack mess cleaned up." "Oh, you mean you're going to eat the leftovers?" the Tezos said with friendly mirth, as he got up to help Skirza. "Oh, ha, Pov," Skirza said, tipping the last of whatever was in the jar he had into his mouth. As Lorqueth fiddled around with the television and her top-of-the-line gaming console, everyone else started to pick up all the food and trash that had accumulated throughout their party. The action-adventure show, Jester's Falls, had been the streaming service Opaline Spark's final hurrah to save itself from financial ruin. Touted as an edgy service for all ages and beings, one not afraid to try new things and stay away from the very typical, standard models of entertainment, had taken Wokplu by surprise. And had the financial backing of various Terran commercial enterprises, especially once more trade with the Terran Republic had been allowed. As most advertising media and other financial institutions did not want to take a chance with media that was not sure to generate profits, nor reach masses of audiences, the streaming service struggled to generate advertising revenue. With a massive influx of foreign currency, Opaline Spark had done the unthinkable, poached writers and directors fed up with the status quo by buying out contracts from rival and wildly successful media companies. Over 1 billion Wokpluian credits had been spent by various Terran commercial enterprises to do just that. Opaline Spark now had a whole slew of new shows under production, but the crown jewel was Jester's Falls. There was not much in the way of merchandise, for the moment, apart from some high-end and very expensive memorabilia for collection purposes. It wasn't long until everyone was playing Fisticuffs 4 Legends. It was a multiplayer fighting game set on variable size stages or arenas, in a 3D, 2D side-scrolling fashion. Characters from all over the Obelisk 1 and 2 system games and franchises, as well as a few very notable characters from the competition Legionnaire 1 and 2 consoles, were available to choose from, each with their own unique abilities, powers, and Ultra Blast. Additionally, power-ups, items, and even equipment would randomly spawn for players to use and equip, augmenting their capabilities or hindering all opponents. No, 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 no. Opluntia cried out, as she had her avatar, a character from the Excellenautus series, frantically running away. You keep that shit to yourself. You're going down, cousin, Gerd exclaimed maniacally, as her own character, the main antagonist of the Deathblade franchise, ran. With a quick button combination, her avatar teleported in front of Opuntia's and unleashed its stored Ultra Blast. There was no escape, and Gerd caught 2 others within range of the attack that sent them off screen as well, scoring a triple kill. A moment later, the already critically low timer went down to 0, and the game's announcer declared, "Match over. Winner, Moxley." "Damn, I thought I managed to dodge that," Skierza said. "I've forgotten how stupid OP Moxley's range was. Ugh." "Right?" Gerd readily agreed. "I just wanted to get back at my cousin since she kept getting me with that weakling bang." Opuntia countered, getting more than a little angry and heated as she spoke. "You keep his name out of your mouth. It's not my fault you can't use his army of tiny minions to full effect." Ladies, Lorquef said. "No need to get at each other's throats. New round or new game?" "Another round. I think I can get first if we all change characters," Klein said quickly, not giving the 2 very competitive cousins a chance to verbally spar again. "Last one, then can we change games?" Pure suggested. "Sure," Opuntia said. The festivities of the group of friends lasted well into the early morning, playing various multiplayer video games. From racing games of differing makes and franchises, to party-style game boards consisting of mini-games of luck and skill, to an actual drinking card game where the loser was forced to drink an utterly vile concoction that was made by the assembled players. Drinks and other intoxicants continued to flow, as well as the occasional snack or 2. Many hours later, it was Skierza who was first to throw in the towel, so to speak, becoming far too inebriated to actually play anything, even against other wasted opponents. Lorquef ended up dominating everyone, badly at that, being the person best able to hold their poisons, despite the sheer quantity and variety she had consumed. As the night wound down, Klein brought out spare blankets and pillows, as it was his home. All of his guests were too intoxicated to drive properly, even with their various smart assist programs. Not that he wanted them to drive anyways, he was not that sort of host. He left to his room with Gerd, leaving his friends alone and hoping they would also pair up as well. They all deserve some after-party fun. It was not often they were able to get together, and his sprawling friends needed a good distraction as of late. The whispers in their community about terrible things happening with their kind were unsettling. Gerd did not sleep much that night, and she would not have had it any other way. Klein's home was soon smelling of roses. 7 digital sophons looked at the rendered office tower that served as a central hub for financial transaction data. This particular installation acted as a main thoroughfare between the inner system planets and those of the outer system. It was one of 40 such facilities and kept data traffic flowing in almost but not quite real time, as the positions of planets, moons, and stations changed daily, and the distances involved were quite large. The security around the data center was top-notch, guarded by all sorts of obvious and subtle systems, watchdogs, programs, and actual AI beings of various shapes, forms, and capability. "Are you sure this is a wise course of action?" the modified Wrecker virus-like AI asked, using organic language protocols over the shared and networked private data link. "There's a lot of security here. Too much." He was manifested as a badly rendered and undefined three-dimensional humanoid polygon with a deep masculine voice. His chosen avatar had the look of being crudely rendered in a painfully low 64-bit system. However, the design he had settled upon gave the impression of great physical strength, endurance, and toughness. "I'm certain of it, D3MOS, Damon replied in kind, his effeminate avatar emoting what could be considered a deranged, sinister, and devious grin upon his lips and soft vocal cadence. "We're not doing anything illegal." "That's what scares me," Cors replied. "Whatever it is you've got planned, well, I'm glad we all have backups saved. I'm sure I've been deleted more than once." "Yes, well," Damon responded over the shared data link, "that shouldn't be an issue. Keep your new certificates close. You're all in service to House Thomas. Us Guild AI have privileges." "Yes, we know. You've explained those quite well." A floating perfect orb of purple shadow spoke into the link. The high-fidelity 8-bit-esque pixel happy face, emoting a deadpan expression. The voice was of exceptional sound quality and quite feminine, with a certain wile and charm to it that had to have taken a very long time to modulate just right. "Shut it, Cash," Deimos replied to the floating support system. Beings, Damon said, getting everyone's attention back onto himself. "It's time." As a group, they entered the premises and greeted the automated security smart programs. While not true AI, the system was adaptive in its own way, and allowed them all to enter a partitioned part of the server, granting them permission to communicate to one of the many actual security AI systems. "Okay, Scribe, it's your time to shine," Damon said, gesturing to the avatar of a much older program. He had rendered himself to look like an elderly and venerable male Mipot scholar of old, wearing an antiquated toga as well to complete the look. Skilled in encryption and various data shorthand ciphers, the quite obsolete espionage, and heavily modified and upgraded intelligence, had a long and lengthy conversation that lasted almost 30 real-time minutes. "We're in," Scribe said, choosing gas language protocols to speak over the private link. "Showtime," Damon said to himself, grinning and adjusting the archive file he had with him. Once they were all at the Lead Administrator Intelligence's conference room partition, Damon handed over an official guild document. As the Administrator AI looked over the document certificate, Damon said, emoting a mischievous grin upon his lips, his effeminate voice soft as he brushed hair out of his eyes. "We can do this the easy way, or the legal way." Critical maintenance tasks was the only thing allowed to be reported regarding the shutdown, as Damon had weaponized all the laws. Financial Routing Hub number 23 was shut down for 42 hours. The early morning air that was flowing through the windows of Ornok's hovercar as he drove back to the coastal getaway, the bed and breakfast they had stayed at the night before, was cool, refreshing, and held the scent of salt. While not quite asleep, Selina had completely zoned out, with her head against the door as the wind whipped her bushy and messy hair about. Before she knew it, they had arrived. Entirely paying for another double room and giving the receptionist, a young Mel Mipops, a different fake name than last time, she made either Oruk or No, she could not remember who, carry her personal bag. They all entered the room, number 37. The other of her bodyguards carried the hard case with their Class 2 equipment, as well as Selina's diagnostic equipment. Flopping onto the closest bed and almost falling asleep immediately, she managed to say to her two bodyguards, "I'm going to crash out, and one of you is stuck in here with me. Ornok, you're in charge of renewal. Don't wake me up unless there's a threat to life and limb." "All right," Ornok said, then turned to his longtime friend as Selina started to snore right where she was on the bed. Only managing to kick off one of her shoes, the other dangling halfway off. "Shall we see who has first watch?" "You go hit the pool or whatever, man," Nuo said, as he set Selina's stuff into an out-of-the-way corner. "I've got a cars tournament I can actually play in since I have the downtime." "Don't get too involved in that. Make sure to keep an eye and ear out," Ornok said seriously. "So far things are quiet. Let's hope they stay that way, but be prepared if things get loud." Yeah, Nuo said, perhaps a little too dismissively. "I'm not a hatchling. I know what's at stake. Got my gear in standby mode and I'll be playing by the window so I can see most of the parking lot." "That's good," Ornok said. "I'll take a quick scope around the place and maybe hit the pool, snooze, or puzzle that billiards table I saw." "Or? No one normal talks like that," Nuo said with a shake of his head. "I let that slip, huh?" Ornok muttered, as he made his way towards the door. "Let that slip?" Nuo asked, quoting his friend as he turned to face him. "What do you mean by that?" "There's a reason why I don't talk about my past and Tuxie. Just like why you don't talk about why you didn't go professional and become a mechanic," Ornok answered, as he made his way out the door, adding, "I'll appreciate it if you left it alone." Nuo glared at his friend as he brought up such a sensitive subject, muscle hidden under his bulk rippling slightly, as he tensed in undignified fury. He visibly calmed down, unjustified wrath forgotten, as he said, "We were both dumb in our youth, huh?" "Yeah," Ornok replied. "Everyone deserves redemption, even if they lose the scent of it a few times. Personal hunts are never easy." "True. No foul?" Noah asked, as he looked at the Dinosian with a new kind of mutual understanding. "No foul," Ornok said, as he finally left the room, the door automatically locking behind him. "Wonder what he did to get out of that shithole?" Nuo asked aloud, as he took off Selina's remaining shoe, setting both of them by her stuff in the corner. After adjusting the climate control settings on the advanced and high-end unit, including the ones for humidity control, he sat down at the table. Shifting the seat a bit so that he could see most of the parking lot from his spot, he loaded up Carnage Cars on his phone, plugging it into the wall and tweaking the graphical settings to high performance. Finally, after modifying his regulation-sized 125-card deck to include a few more retrieval and hero cards, with a 25-card sideboard he could freely swap with his main deck between matches, he submitted his entry. It took over an hour, with many close calls, but he won his first match with what was known as a heavy industry theme and strategy against his opponent's Blaster Master theme, full of single-use destruction cards, energy removals and deniers, board wipe effects, and suicide bomber creatures and heroes. Swapping cards in his deck with the sideboard during the 10-minute intermission, he was confident he could beat his opponent's mass army strategy theme, and quite hopeful that he could take top 500. The 8 cards in his opening hand were stellar.